Are you sick of the same old disability stereotypes? We were too, so we did something about it. Welcome to That Was Unexpected, the Disability Lifestyle podcast for everyone. Brought to you by Young Care and hosted by me, Lisa Cox. Join our amazing guests as we delve into topics that don't often hit the headlines. So let's do this. Prepare for the unexpected. If you're low vision like me or have other accessibility requirements, check out our show notes. Before we get started, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of land on which we record. We pay respects to the elders, past, present and emerging.
Hailey Brown, welcome to the studio. Really good to have you here.
Thanks, Lisa.
Hailey is the CEO and founder of Vacayit. Is that how I pronounce it?
Vacayit, like vacation.
Just one word.
Yeah.
Instead of Vacayit. And she's here to talk about that app and a few other things, some really interesting things to do with travel, disability, tourism, etc. So tell us about Vacayit and how it came about, what it's all about.
So Vacayit, more or less, is just, we call it an audio guide to the world. So what you would typically imagine a museum tour, an audio tour in a museum, we do everything kind of outside of the museum. So we do historic walks, we've done prison tours, cemetery tours, boat tours, and then we do the immersive audio for that. And it's all stored within the Vacayit app. So you can take your own headphones and not have to use their old, janky little headphones. But the reason we started was I was in uni at the time and I had the opportunity to present an idea to the World Tourism Forum about a gap in the tourism industry. And I was originally presenting something about how we rank lowest globally for cultural tourism motivations, but we have the oldest living culture on earth. But I didn't really have a solution for it. I was kind of more presenting it as a research topic. And so the night before I was talking to my friend Henry, who's been blind since birth, and he was telling me about a trip that he did to Mount Kilimanjaro. And afterwards, he just hiked the whole thing. And then he wanted to come back and do something just as exciting. So everybody told him, and even Google told him, that he had to go on a safari, which he did. And he described it as a face full of dirt. It smelled like shit and he didn't want to get out of the vehicle because he didn't want to get eaten alive. And we laughed about it originally. But when I asked him, I was kind of thinking, I don't have that experience. And so when I asked him what would make that experience better, he said two things to me that I thought were actually quite simple to solve. He said, I'd love to have the right accessibility information so that I can make informed decisions about where I want to go myself. And I would love to walk down the street and listen to the stories and sounds of the world around me. And so I presented this idea about an audio guide to the World Tourism Forum. We ended up winning the Global Innovation Award. And once we won that, I was like, all right, there must be something in this.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so it was pretty crazy. It went from like a little idea overnight to, being in Switzerland at a global event. But yeah, that's how we started. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, that's great. I hadn't heard the story of how it all got started, but I know you're a TEDx speaker as well. I was in the audience for your presentation, and during the opening you said something that really struck a chord with me, and that was about how people think about accessibility and what they can do differently. Can you explain that to me?
Yeah, so when we came into this space, we really only launched around in 2022, which I'm sure, we've been fighting the fight for a long time, people in the disability space. But as far as accessible tourism, it kind of started to have that conversation around a state and national level around that time. And when we started talking to people, the number one thing they would say is like, oh yeah, we're accessible, we have a ramp. Or we're going to be accessible, we're going to build a ramp. And for us, we typically look at the visitor experience and we look at how do we make a bad experience better, not necessarily a good experience great. And so, the biggest thing that we say is it's more than just a ramp. It
is about so much more than a ramp. And Lindsay Knott, who did our last podcast, he's a person with disabilities and was speaking about this as well, that it's not just about a ramp, and it's a problem I've had with hotels. They have a ramp at the front door and they're disability friendly, but then if you want to have a shower or get to the bar, or it's just not done. So what's the overall goal of Vacayit?
Our goal is to just audio describe the world. So anywhere you go, you can listen to the stories and sounds of the world around you while also having accurate accessibility information. So what's really interesting about the app is that, now it's quite reflective of the general population as far as our user base goes. So we have, still more people with a disability, but about 70% of people on our platform don't identify as having a disability. And our next biggest user group are people on the autism spectrum, because they use it as a way to familiarize themselves before they go. And then it's people who are blind. But because we have that accurate accessibility information, it allows people to plan. But because we designed with people with disability first and we made it so sensory, now everybody enjoys it and everybody likes it, because it was designed for everyone. It wasn't just designed for people with disability.
So what universal design is
exactly
all about. So tell me about the team, apart from yourself doing great things. The team of Vacayit, there's people there with disabilities.
Yeah. So our content writers are blind and low vision, or have low vision, which provides this really cool, approach on describing a destination. So the way that we talk about it is, instead of saying, go up to the top of the mountain and look at the view, which is what traditional tourism marketing is, we say, go up to the top of the mountain and this is the view. And we explain the view and we talk about the trees and the sounds and, what you're looking out at. And then also kind of the birds or whatever that you can look out for. And it's not just necessarily a nature hike up, actually, around 60% of them are indoors. But I think it takes that concept of, instead of look at the view, how do you make it really sensory, multi-sensory for everyone? And so because they're blind and low vision, they have that really unique approach of asking and working with tourism operators, but you said, that there's a train outside your place. And I was like, yeah, but why is that relevant? And it's like, because that actually adds to the experience. When you're walking in, you can hear the sound of a sugarcane train going next to you, and, things like that make it a lot more multi-sensory. And it also means that these tourism operators walk away knowing that they've worked with people with a disability, and it kind of challenges that stereotype that's out there.
Awesome. We're all about that here at the podcast, challenging stereotypes.
Yeah.
And so our listeners know it's not just an app, it's also available on a website.
Yeah, so we've got it available on the app. We have it available on our Vacayit website. But then we also have a range of technology that allows our tourism operators to put it on their website and their brand. And it's an accessible audio player. It's compatible with screen reader. It's got transcripts. And it's quite intuitive to use.
So cool. I was on the website recently and thought, I'll look at an area that I already know about, and typed in, I think, Tenga Tours.
That's just gone up.
Oh, has it just gone up?
Yeah.
and listened to the audio description. As someone with vision impairment, not completely blind, totally enjoyed it. And thought, there's so much on this tour, on this trip, that I just missed because I couldn't see it, or I just didn't do it in the first place because of accessibility requirements and all those sorts of things. So it's so well put together. But the tourism industry more generally is picked up a tiny bit around accessibility, and the penny's finally dropped that people with disabilities travel, all sorts of disabilities. And who do you think, of all the places you've travelled, I think before the podcast you said 45 countries or something? Yeah. 45 countries. Who is doing it well, in your opinion?
So I think South Korea has a really good plan to make all of their, tourism attractions accessible. So they've got a 10-year plan, which has ranged from 2017 to 2027. Mm-hmm. So they were doing this a bit before. It was cool, right? And they focused on 5 key areas. And within those 5 key areas, their goal is to make every tourism site across the country completely accessible. And so they're doing it one venue at a time, and their goal is, in that 10-year plan, to have 10% of their tourism operators completely accessible. And so the 5 areas that they have is improving tourism site facilities, those are your bathrooms and et cetera, et cetera. Then there's the strengthening city transportation links, so making sure you can actually get to, a destination can be accessible, but if you can't get there, that makes it incredibly hard. Enhancing physical accessibility, so everything from ramps to getting in the door to navigating the whole venue. Developing inclusive experiences. So that kind of comes down to, sign language tours, audio tours, finding a way, allowing people to get on a gondola and having, not a glass bottom so that wheelchairs can come on it. And the last one is improving accessibility information. And so getting accurate accessibility information and providing it so people can plan their tours. And they're sitting at around 6 to 7% with a couple of years away and COVID in the middle. And, when I was there, I was looking around and I really felt like when a destination and a tourism attraction was there and had been worked on, it was fully accessible.
Oh, nice about South Korea. I love that they've got KPIs around it instead of just vaguely saying, we want to do something good or, we want to improve it, but there's no KPI and set agenda. So that's who's doing it really well. Who's maybe not doing it so well and needs to improve?
So actually one of the places that I think is also doing it well, but it's still quite new to is Australia. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of our plans and our funding that have gone into it recently has been such an incredible step. And there's been so much progress, and I'm sure you felt it here as well, which is the conversation is happening. There's more representation in media. But since we are in Australia, I think this is a good place to say that, Australia always has improvements to make. And
exactly.
I think, there is that notable absence of concrete and tangible strategy for the future. And especially in Queensland, we've got the Olympic and Paralympic Games coming.
Yeah, really keen to see how my city transforms after the Paras.
Exactly. And, even if it's not from an inclusion perspective, we've got the largest disability voices in the world coming to our city. And we need to be ready for it. And if not, it's going to be a PR disaster, if anything. But it should also be a really good way to get people, up and running about it. And the new strategy that's come out a couple of weeks ago is really good. It kind of changed over the last 6 months from being a couple of dot points to being one of the two overarching strategies for the Olympic and Paralympic Games. And so everything that we do, we need to consider accessibility and First Nations culture in it. And I think that's going to be an incredible leap progress forward. I do think there's we need to have a strategy on, it's good to say it's accessibility. We're going to think about it, but we really need to really break down what that looks like.
Exactly.
And if we can make a plan going forward, I think we'll see big progress in this space, but there just currently isn't one.
So this question might be similar to what you just said, but apart from the benefits to people with disabilities, or we can actually see and experience and feel all of the sights and sounds of an attraction or a venue, what are the benefits to other people, maybe business or government, etc.?
Well, it's just a good business decision. I even think about how when we made our app in the first place, we probably spent $10 on accessibility in our business since the start. We haven't really needed to do anything because we designed it from the get-go with people with disabilities. And it hasn't cost us anything because we built it with people with disabilities from the start.
Yep.
And, you see organisations with something 1,000 odd pages on their website that they've got to redo. That's hard and that's incredibly expensive. And, there are a lot of websites being redone at the moment and they're still not considering accessibility in that. And there's going to become legislation at some point. So you may as well make it accessible if it's from a basic legislation point. But as far as you should do it, even from an SEO, search engine optimization perspective, if you have audio on your platform, audio is typically not searchable. But, with our API, the media player, it allows you to put the transcript in it, which means that all the words that are said can also be searchable. And even putting transcripts on your website for videos that are up there allows you to have so much information that's searchable, that's hidden in a transcript, but it allows more people to be driven to your page. So when you make your products more accessible on your website, It also means that they can scrape information better from your website. But if you hide it behind a photo and you don't add alt text, or you don't, you want to hide it behind something else, then it's really hard for it to be searchable. So, even from a web perspective, it's really smart to make your website accessible, and it's going to make it, even when you're making your first page that you're going to duplicate 100 times, just make sure that first page is accessible before you duplicate it, because then you are saving yourself so much time and money in the future.
Yeah, I think it's a really good thing for business to hear. But we were talking before recording that it's great to see businesses just having a try, because often there's so much fear of, if we get it wrong, we'll get called out on Twitter or X or whatever it is now, and so we won't do anything. But that's not the approach to take. Have a crack, have a go, get people with lived experience to consult or involved in some way. But it is great to see more and more businesses having a try. So you don't have to transform the entire website. It would be great if you did, but as a first step, start with that front page, that home page.
And you can even put widgets in there that kind of do the work. They kind of mask all the problems on your site, because you can change the contrast and you can change, and they're really quite cheap. It's just a subscription. Places like Accessibility and other widgets that are out there. But a big thing that we say is just start.
Yeah.
Just start, everything else will come. And what we found is actually 80% of our operators who we were their first step, they've also continued on their accessibility journey. Sometimes they just need a little push to start, and it can be, it is daunting. It is incredibly daunting to start something when they know they've got so much to do. And so that first step is often difficult, because they're like, great, I've got 100 things to do. Which one? How do I choose? And if I choose, then will I get slammed by another group that I'm not working on? But, people who we started working with 3 years ago now are almost entirely accessible. That's because they put a really good long-term strategy, short and long-term strategy, from what was affordable and what was cheap and what was free to things that, now people have built full accessible boardwalks around lakes. So, they need to see the benefit first. And they also need to do it in an affordable way. Yeah.
So you have done so much incredible stuff, but what's next for Hailey Brown? What are you up to?
For Vacayit, Hailey Brown.
But though I know there's the Vacayit Hailey Brown, then Hailey Brown personally, but Vacayit Hailey Brown.
Vacayit Hailey Brown. So for us, we're looking, our goal has always been audio to describe the world. The way that we're going to do that is just set up teams around the world and get as many tourism operators on board this mission as we can in as many states. So I'm moving over to the US later this year, and we're opening up our US office, and we're hoping to just get through it and do it globally within a couple of years, so that anybody can travel anywhere they want with the right accessibility information.
That's brilliant. I'll definitely be a user for sure.
Thank you.
So Hailey, you are doing incredible things in this space, but who else is doing really awesome stuff around tourism, accessibility, and those sorts of things?
Yeah, there's a couple of great organisations across Australia in particular who are doing some incredible work. So one of them, Accessible Accommodation, run by Kerry Williams, finding and accrediting hotels and making them more accessible. So that's really good if you're looking for accessible accommodations as a wheelchair user, is my understanding, but she could be doing more than that. Mm-hmm. We've got a couple of great advocates in the industry. Martin Heng, who used to be at Lonely Planet doing the accessibility. He's now doing a lot of, kind of consulting with the Australian Tourism Export Council. If you want a physical tour, we've got Cocky Guides, who takes blind and low vision tours. And they take people around Australia, and it's only for people who are blind and low vision, run by Buck McFarlane. He's awesome. Wheel the World. Do you know Wheel the World?
I've heard of them.
Yeah, okay. I was just with them in San Francisco, and they're just as incredible as they look online, which is great. Cool. They help provide accessible holidays for wheelchair users, and they're probably one of the biggest providers globally for that. And then as far as people in the audio guide space, nobody else is really doing it from a accessibility perspective. We've got a couple other audio guide tech companies. Unfortunately, one of my competitors is Kevin Costner. Oh, yeah, I know. But he's got this really cool app where it's a bit more, it's different. It's individuals. It's a bit more user-generated content rather than curated content.
Okay.
And that's across America. And then we've got Smart Guide, who are global, who've done really good work in this area, and then VoiceMap, who I think VoiceMap are the only ones who really work with the destinations and make the curated content, but the rest is user generated.
Well, as much as I don't want to have any competitors, I want you to take over the world. It's great to hear that there are other people out there doing good stuff too.
I think we can all work together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know most of them anyway.
Yeah.
And we all kind of have the same goal, which is audio describe the world. And, there's one too many operators in the world to do it alone. So
yeah, that's brilliant. You've got to work together for these sorts of things.
For sure. And I think we've all got the same goal. We just need to really push the accessibility front on it from our end, because that's what we really care about. But I don't see any reason that we can't work together, and I also can't see any reason why more people can't do this. It's a great business and a lot of operators looking for more people to do it, and we're pretty flat out. So if someone else wants to do a bit of it, please.
So if an operator, for example, a hotel or a tourist attraction isn't auto described, do they just contact you and say, hey, we'd like our theme park or our whatever auto described? Is that the process?
Yes, they just reach out to us just through our customer form online, and we just get back to them. The other thing that you can do is message hello@vacayit.com, Vacayit, and then we can send them through a package or jump on a call with them and help them set up.
Awesome. So Hailey, do you have any other technology that can help businesses?
Yes, we do. So we've recently launched around 6 months ago our audio player. The reason that we built this audio player was because we went to go upload all of our audio guides onto our website so that people could have more choice, not just the app, but they could also have access to our website. And our website accessibility failed. We were sitting at, a 95% accessibility and went straight down to about a 40. And so then we started researching and putting in more audio players, and it just kept on failing the accessibility check. And what we realized is there's kind of no accessible audio players from a screen reader perspective, and then also as far as transcripts go. And so we can host any audio content in accessible format for any organization. It doesn't need to just be people working with us on the audio guides. So we've got a lot of organizations who use it just so they can host accessible content in an accessible way. I believe we're the only one in the world, which is really cool. I hope there's a bit more soon. And then you can also white label it to be in your brand.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So Hailey, give us an idea of some of the businesses or organizations that you did this great work with.
So we work with Accor across some of their hotel brands, particularly the Peppers ones, across Queensland and Tasmania. But we're slowly rolling out across all of them. We have Dream World, which we're slowly audio describing the rides. White Ridge Farm and Mutu Animal Sanctuary. They are, little farms and sanctuaries that are in Queensland and northern New South Wales. And we've got a range of ones like that. But we also work with states. So we work with Tourism Tasmania. We work with Destination Gold Coast. We're in about 50 to 70 regions across Australia. So you can probably pretty safely travel to most places, especially rurally, on the platform. And so we're pretty built out across the country. We've got maybe around 500 audio guides that you can access on there.
That's very cool. And it's good to add that, or to know that it's not just the big shiny attractions that get your attention. It's the tiny little 2-person farms and those sorts of things. So anyone can auto describe their experiences.
Yeah, we work with everyone at all levels, which it's really fun. Like some of the smaller operators, they have really immersive experiences, especially the farms, because you can get the sounds of their goats and their sheep and you pull it in, right? And so you know what sounds to look for, which is really fun.
Yeah. So Hailey, you've got a few stats around how Australia is going with regard to accessible tourism, the size of the market and those sorts of things. Can you tell our listeners what that looks like?
Well, the stats are changing every year, but as far as this year, in the June quarter last year, the disability dollar for accessible tourism was around 6.8 billion, which equates to around $21 of the total tourism industry for that quarter. So it means people with disabilities are traveling and they are looking for experiences, and they typically bring more people, they spend more and they stay longer, which is what that statistic is showing. And so they are a high value traveller, if that's how we're going to look at it for the dollar. And, making your business accessible is going to be good for your business, and it's also going to be the right thing to do.
Exactly, and not just for people with disabilities, but maybe an Asian population or people who have a temporary injury needing accessibility as well. And we mentioned this on the previous podcast with Lindsay, but it's worth repeating. It's not just about that one person in a wheelchair or with a disability, for example, but it's about the multitude of people that they bring with them, their family, friends, whoever, on that experience. So it's something that businesses in tourism really need to consider.
And I think they are. And I think we've seen a big change in the perceptions of people with disabilities and travellers, and the families that come with it. But I do think for a long time it was just a lack of education. And I think now that we're able to talk about it in the tourism industry, and it is on every single panel at every single state tourism conference and at the national conference run by Tourism Australia, I have seen just that understanding from the tourism operators is significantly greater than what it was when we started. The conversations that people are having, they're a lot deeper, and the progress and plans are there for these operators, whether they've done it yet. But it's also something they're thinking about, which is, when I started in this industry, they weren't thinking about it.
It's so good to see.
And then I can say the hidden disability. I can do it. You can go ask the question.
Say it however you want.
Yeah.
So Hailey, what is it about you that's unexpected?
I have a hidden disability, so I've got short-term memory loss. I'm in the first percentile, which they told me if there was 100 people in the class getting tested for your memory, you'd be the worst. Thought that was really flattering, You and
I are the perfect pairing in a podcast. Both got bad memories. I don't know how we've done this.
I know, Lisa and I were laughing before this because we were talking about, we just don't even know what we're going to be talking about for most of the time. And I've also got auditory processing disorder. Auditory processing disorder I haven't really ever seen spoken about, but it means that you kind of just process everything at once, and sometimes it can be hard to differentiate between conversations. So especially loud rooms, it just kind of either sounds like gibberish or one long sentence that doesn't make much sense. And so I often disassociate in loud rooms, but there's a lot of things that you can do to kind of help mask it, which been lucky enough going to an audiologist. They've really helped me through it. And even Juanita from TEDx sent me a TED talk of this audiologist who has actually allowed people to unlearn auditory processing disorder, which I haven't seen yet, so I'm going to have to check that out. Because it would make my life a lot less stressful.
Yours and mine both.
Yeah.
We love Juanita here.
I know. She's always got some tips up her sleeve for everything because she works with everyone from everything.
She's great. And thank you for mentioning that as well. I know you said you hadn't mentioned it before, but I think it's important for listeners to hear that after you've just done all of these extraordinary things, went at the UN, been at, White House, doing all these great things. And by the way, there's a disability too. So smashing those stereotypes that we're all only capable of so much.
Yeah, I think getting diagnosed helps a lot because then it helps make a lot more sense of your brain and why maybe some things are not as easy.
Sure.
Allows you to focus on how you can fix it and how you can, well, not fix, but how you can find ways to make it a lot easier for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having that team around you definitely helps,
for
whether
sure.
they're audiologists, neurologists, or whoever it may be. But Hailey Brown, thank you so much for being on the pod today.
Thanks, Lisa.
It's been really good to hear about Vacayit. So where can people find you, the Vacayit side of you?
So you can find us on our website, www.vacayit.com. Vacayit is spelled Vacayit. You can also download the app on Google Play or on the App Store, and it's just Vacayit. You can probably also search travel audio guides. If you can't remember our name, it'll probably be up there too. And yeah, on our operator's website. So if you see a tourism operator with a QR code at their door or at their front desk, make sure to scan it and, check out the audio guides, because they're pretty good. The content team's incredible.
They are really good. The ones I've listened to are fantastic. So encouraging everybody to have a listen, whether or not you have disabilities, because they add a whole new level of experience and enjoyment for people who aren't necessarily vision impaired as well.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a great experience for everyone. I typically read them because I've got auditory processing disorder. I've never listened to one, but I've read them all and I love them.
Awesome. Well, thank you again.
Thank you, Liz.
Thanks for listening to That Was Unexpected. If you liked what you heard and you want to hear more, then hit subscribe wherever you get your fix. Have any questions or topics that you'd love for us to tackle? Great! Email podcast@youngcare.com.au. We can't wait to hear from you. Check out our show notes for transcripts, video recordings, and to find out more about our guests, plus the useful resources they share. You can reach us on Facebook, Instagram, X, and LinkedIn at YoungCare Oz. Let's not forget, an inclusive community is everyone's business. So let's keep working together to break down barriers and smash some stereotypes.